Okay, so I think we could
Cześć.
start. Uh, okay, I think we could start, and as I will basically start in English because as we have a lot of invited guests, English-speaking guests, and obviously Danilo's lecture today is also in English. So let me just give a very brief introduction in English. So for those who are joining the meetings at Poznań University of Technology for the first time, my name is Agata Bonenberg, and I am at the head of the Institute of Interior Design at the Faculty of Architecture of Poznań University of Technology. And I would really like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who have managed to join in today. Well, in my opinion, all of the creative concepts, artistic ideas derive from curiosity, from conversation, and from the collective work that we may want to do together. So in my opinion, the inspiration comes from encounters. And willing to celebrate the establishment of the new course of study, this interior design course of study at Poznań University of Technology, and our long collaboration with professionals, with great scholars from Italy. I have decided to launch this Spazio Forma Idea, and I hope that this event will allow us in the coming lectures discuss architecture, discuss art, discuss design. So having this opportunity now, I would really like to also extend my welcome to the Vice Rector of Poznań University of Technology, Professor Paweł Śniatała. I would also like to thank very much the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture, Professor Ewa Pruszewicz-Sipińska, for the strong support for this initiative. And I would like to welcome the head of the Architecture and Urban Planning Committee of Polish Academy of Sciences, Professor Sławomir Gzel, and also a General Consul of Republic of Poland in Milan, Ms. Adrianna Szylnicka. Last but not least, I would really like to welcome my dear colleague and friend, professor at Politecnico di Milano, Marco Lucchini, who has been collaborating with me for last 15 years, and for what I am also truly grateful. And now I would like to pass a voice to the Vice Rector of Poznań University of Technology, Professor Paweł Śniatała.
Good afternoon. I hope that you can hear me. I am here on behalf.
Yes, we don't hear that well.
Let me try to be closer to mic. Now it's better?
Yes, slightly better. Okay.
So welcome everybody. I'm here on behalf of Rector of Poznań University of Technology, Professor Teofil Jesionowski. He apologized.
Bardzo mi przykro, ale w ogóle nic nie słychać.
Okay, so let me try take it closer. How about now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, fine. So once again, welcome everybody. As I said, I am here not only on behalf of myself, but especially on behalf of Rector Professor Teofil Jesionowski. Unfortunately, currently he is in another important meeting with our deans, so he couldn't attend here. First of all, thank you very much that I'm just talking now to organizers, that you took the effort and you took the challenge to organize it. I know how it is difficult during this strange time to organize such meetings. On the other side, I want to mention about two things. First one is I know how important is architecture from two different points of view. First of all, we need a pleasant environment where we can live in a proper way. And I think it is now very important that it is kind of cooperation between different disciplines. So it's not only architecture, we have to put inside this interior maybe some Internet of Things. I am computer science guy, so it is why I mentioned about that. So it is this kind of realistic aspect of architecture, but there is also another one which as far as I know, it's part of the competition. Which is related to the seminar here. So I'm talking about this mental part of our life, and it's very important that our students will not only take care about the knowledge, but also about the mental part. And actually, the last point which I want to mention about the European University.
Panie rektorze, troszeczkę głośność w tej chwili się pogorszyła. Okej, teraz jest dobrze.
Okay, so maybe I will just switch off the camera and I will keep the mic quite close. So let's do like that. Okay, so now I think it will be much better, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
So we are part, actually, we won a competition to be a European university together with some other partners. And one of the important issue which we put there is that we try to remember about humanistic part of study. And our kind of slogan or just idea is that we will take care not only about the knowledge of our students, but also about the mental part. So we called it that our student, our engineer at the technical university will be humanistic engineer. So it is how it is also related a little bit to your initiative here. I'm just referring to the competition. And one more thing which is related to this European University, the name is EUNIS, which means European University Customized Education. One of our partners actually is from Italy, from Catania. And so I think it's a good opportunity to extend a little bit our relation to Italy, that we can build a triangle. So Milano, Catania, and Poznań University of Technology, and together maybe we can offer this new course related to internal design, like a part of this new European University. So just to conclude, I wish you a good and interesting seminar. And I hope that the nice weather which we have here in Poznań today, I assume the same as Milano, will also somehow transfer to a good mood of the participants. So that's it from my side. Usually I talk too long, so now let's go back to the camera. So I hope that you will enjoy, stay in Poland for those who are from outside. And the opposite direction, it's really always nice to be even virtually in a sunny Italy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The connection.
I'm sorry that I will not be able to stay with you. I have to
of course.
So thank you, and I'm sorry for this technical difficulties. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. the concept of connecting our forces for European University together with Catania, I think it's actually a very good idea, because Danilo Vespier, who is our main speaker today, is a graduate of the University of Catania. Is that right, as far as I remember? Of Calabria. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm graduated in Reggio Calabria, but I'm really, I mean, I really have a kind of emotional link also with Catania, because especially at that time, the east part of Sicily and was just most of the architects were just graduated in Reggio Calabria. So I have a lot of friends, and I know that area really a lot. And so we were really close to Catania.
Okay. I am hearing here that our Vice Dean Agata Gawlak is not could not come, is not available. So I would be really happy if Professor Sławomir Gzel could also tell us a few words from his side. Professor, the channel is yours, the screen is yours.
Grazie. Signore, questo sarà sorpresa anche per me, ma io vorrei provare, dico alcune parole in italiano. Io non conosco italiano bene, la grammatica è difficile, ma la pronuncia è melodiosa e perciò piace molto questa lingua. Rispettabile professoresse, rispettabili professori, cari studenti con Milano e Poznań. Come presidente di Comitato dell'Architettura e Urbanistica, Accademia delle Scienze Bologna, vorrei salutare tutti i partecipanti alla nostra conferenza. It is in italiano? Ok. Speciali saluti e congratulazioni per laureati. Questo concorso qui sarà deciso durante la conferenza. Penso che le lezioni che sono offrite saranno interessanti per tutti. I titoli delle lezioni annuncio questo. This is everything what I could say in Italiano, so let me say something in English in the end. I do not want to take too much time, because I think that today's lecture is much more important and more interesting. But I think that such a cooperation between universities are very important. We in Warsaw have at least 2 or 3 even such a cooperation with a certain university in USA, in Detroit. Many years for us it was something very strange, Detroit, such a city. But now when many people used to say that Detroit is kind of laboratory of contemporary town planning and architecture, it is something different. We also cooperate with Berlin and other cities, also with Egypt, in Syria in certain moment. And when exchange of students who are going there, and students from USA and Germany, from Syria, from Egypt are coming to us, such an exchange is very important for everybody, for all parts of such an exchange. I don't know what we could see on this picture, which is on screen. I think it is something connected to workshop Renzo Piano, because I see this highest building in Europe in the middle of this table, staying in front. Well, I do not think I like very much this building because I was forced to pay 35 pounds for a lift to go to the top of it. And I remember from this part, but panorama of London from top is amazing. I think that today's lecture will be amazing as well. So I think we can go to this lecture already. Professor Vespier will start probably in the moment. So thank you very much. Once again, invite everybody to this conference, which, as I said already, will be very important and interesting. Yes, thank you very much. That's all.
Professor, I will allow myself also to ask Professor Lucchini to say hello to everyone and to greet us all. Marco?
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to take part in this week, and I think that this kind of occasion strengthens links between Italy and Poland, and in particular way about our university. By the way, Renzo Piano is still our best architect. Obviously, as Italian, I'm very fond of that. Took his degree at the Polytechnic years ago. Generally speaking, the international links are one of the basis of the culture. In this moment, I think that it's very relevant to promote this kind of events because they give us the chance to overcome the boundaries, and I think that everyone is fed up to have boundaries in this moment. So I'm very I would never have met all these people without this chance. So I'm very glad to meet architect Vespier, who I know it by fame because Professor Bonner spoke about him. And the few words I would like to say a great hello from Politecnico di Milano, and this is the best occasion to hail this relationship between Poznan and Politecnico, which is lasting since a long time.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we can go forward, and I also have a formal obligation, and I would like to thank a lot our media partners and patrons, the White Man, Architektura i Biznes, Info Architekta, who have widely promoted this initiative amongst their numerous readers. And now I shall pass the channel to Professor Joanna Stefańska, who will say a few words about the competition which was accompanying this event today. I think that some of our audience, at least, probably are very much interested in this, in the information which she has to give you. And I would only like to also draw your attention to the fact that Professor Stefańska is the author of this wonderful digital exhibition, which is shown on our website. Her paintings are inspired with the landscapes of Sicily. So I strongly invite you to have a look at this. And now I am passing the screen to Joanna Stefańska.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joanna Stefańska. I am a vice director of the Institute of Interior Design at Faculty of Architecture of the Poznań University of Technology. The Spazio Forma Idea event has been accompanied by a student competition. We are happy to announce that we have received 92 entries. The first 14 selected works will be uploaded on our website after lecture of Professor Danilo Vespier. The audience voting will start after the winning works are loaded on our website. We have foreseen 3 prizes. First, 1,800 złotych, second, 1,000 złotych, and third, 500 złotych, given to the winner of the audience voting. So please support us with the hard choice and vote. The final competition result will be announced on Friday before lecture by Professor Lucchini. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Okay, so yes, going forward, I think it is the time, although we have already talked a little bit, it is time to introduce our speaker, Danilo Vespier. Well, I first met Danilo when I was working at the Renzo Piano Building Workshop in Genova, and well, he has become a colleague, a mentor, and a friend. That's true. Danilo has been working along Renzo Piano for 15 years, and he was a team leader for many important projects by Studio Piano. And I'm sure that he will tell us about some of them now. Danilo is also a professor at the Clemson University from United States, and he's teaching American architecture students in Genova in Italy. And so Danilo, the screen, the channel, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I want to thank you, all of you, for the invitation. I want to thank you, Agatha, for the nice introduction. The first things I want to see, you know, considering that there is this image on the screen. This is a picture from an exposition of the Renzo Piano Building Workshop that was done in Padova in 2013, and where I had the occasion to participate for the project of the exposition and all the events that were linked to that exposition. I wanted to put this image at first just to support, to introduce what it will be. I mean, the sense of this discussion that I hope it will become a dialogue later. And I'm like as Agatha said, I'm an architect. I've been working for more than 15 years in Renzo Piano Building Workshop, and what is the way I'm just approaching the architecture? It comes obviously from this long experience, and in a certain way, this is also the way how is organized this exposition that you can see in the screen. It's a little bit give me the principle of the way I'm looking to architecture, and how also Agatha was saying that now I'm also professor, even if it's not from long time, just few years. It's just the way how I want to speak about architecture, because of course I'm a professional. I'm an architect. I'm somebody that likes to what he likes more about architecture. It's more linked about to expose and to speak about all the process that there are behind the projects. That it's part of my work, of my way of doing, of my craft. So this is a particular moment for me, because since few years I'm in a transition time, because I've been working for almost 16 years in Renzo Piano building workshop. I'm not from Genova, I'm from the south of Italy. I arrived in Genova just to work in this important office, and Genova becomes my town. After all these years, at a certain moment I just decided just to start a new adventure. And what is my intention? What was my idea? Was to try to approach to this new adventure, just trying to go on with the same principle, with the same method that I was just I learned, and I was also part of during this long experience in Renzo Piano building workshop. So in a certain way, even since I'm teaching to the American students, what I try to do is just to show and to share which is my experience, trying to speak above all about projects I really know well, just because I work on when I was in Renzo Piano building workshop, or even the things that I'm trying to do now, just even of course there are smaller projects, but I'm strongly going on to try to keep the same method, the same attitude. And as you can easily understand, it's not always easy, because of course going from a big office like Renzo Piano and starting with a new small office is not always easy to keep the same integrity, the same attitude. But I'm really I'm really want to do this in this way, and so this is my only wish is just to try to go on in this way. So in this discussion, I would like to show you some project I was involved when I was in Renzo Piano building workshop, or also just at the end, just showing something that I'm doing now, just to do a kind of a consumption with you, just how it's possible just to keep the same method, even working in other situation, in other contexts. As I said, I'm not from Genova. I arrived in Genova in 2000. After graduating in '98 in Reggio Calabria, I went working for a couple of years in Paris with Mario Cucinella, when he had the first office in Maison Planex in Paris, just before he settled in Bologna. And in the 2000 I arrived in Genova. I didn't know Genova. I just moved little by little, years by years, my roots in Genova. Genova is a really fascinating place, fascinating town. And the interesting things that the first work I was involved in the Renzo Piano building workshop was actually in Genova. In the 2000, actually, I started working on the ancient harbor that you can see in this image. The regeneration of the ancient harbor started in '92 with opening the ancient harbor before it was closed. Was not accessible to the public, and in the '92 it was open just with building the aquarium and just regenerating and transforming some existing building. In the 2000, in the occasion of the G8 that then was in the 2001, there were just other works that were needed to be done, and so I start working on this area, and especially on this element that was the La Bolla biosphere that was next to the aquarium. This for me was, in a certain way, a good start, just not only just to start working with Renzo Piano, but also to start knowing and discovering the city of Genoa, that then it became my own town. Of course, in these 16 years, I had really the opportunity to go around the world. I was involved in different projects in Asia, in Australia, in US, and in other places in Europe. For instance, I just showing something that I was involved. It's here we are in Sydney, in this incredible bay, where I had the opportunity to work on this project for the generation of an area in the west side of Sydney that was called Barangaroo. This was a long process that I started with Renzo Piano, and now is going on with the construction. Barangaroo is the west side of the harbour of Sydney that you can see here. You can see the Opera House, the bridge, and here the transformation was regarding this building that were in front that define a kind of new skyline of the city. Richard Rogers was involved in the project and the construction of these three first buildings, and we were involved in the construction of these towers just at the end of the construction site. One was a multifunctional tower, and then the other towers that we were more involved also in the prosecution of the project, there were some residential towers. So here was really interesting also because we start, even if the site is incredible, of course, the towers, it's what it catch more our attention. It was really important how to solve the question of the public space and to give back those space to the city that they were before part of the commercial harbor. During this, among the other experience around the world, I had the opportunity also to work in US, and this was a project in the center of Manhattan in Soho, where I was responsible for this project of a residential tower. Here there are the first studies, the first model, the first handmade sketch, where we had to compare with the constraints typical of the center of Manhattan, both economical constraints that push the designer just to try to maximize the volume, but at the same time to create this kind of a connection with the public space of the ground floor. This project went on. I had the opportunity to follow all the different phases of the design, and when I went away from the office, they started construction, and now these are some images of the construction site. And now it's finished. It's even hold as image. We work a lot of new conception of residential building, of course, linked above all with the context of the center of Manhattan. So this is an image of the facade facing the Hudson River and facing the New Jersey. Of course, these are two examples of some design experience in some really spatial context. That, of course, it's our part of my experience that I have a really incredible souvenir. But I have to say the truth. I think that the best luggage that I'm bringing with me in my new experience with my own practice, it's more linked about some topics and some specific theme team that were crucial in our period, and I had the opportunity to work on in many occasions with Renzo Piano building of a workshop. And that are the ones related with the urban regeneration. I had the opportunity to work many times on some big projects that were just made just to regenerate some former industrial area, what we call some brownfields. And this was really important because it's something that I'm really bringing with me in the new experience, because it's really a topic, it's really crucial topics of our times. Here I will show you some of those experiences. For instance, the first one in Lisbon that I started in 2001, that was a really long process, like often happen with the project like this, that now, just now, they are starting to build, but the process started really almost 20 years ago. And in this case was a formal industrial area between the center of Lisbon, that is on the left side of the plan, and the exposition area that is on the right side. In this project, of course, we start to talk about some principle about mixing use, about density, about integration with existing urban texture, about typology, and all these concepts were part of a kind of research that we just developed in different other projects that I'm still going on to develop in my own activity. In this case, we're a mixed-use new district in an area of 140,000 square meters, facing the river, just integrating some existing industrial building for some public area, just redesigning a kind of texture and also a specific typology of the buildings for offices or mainly for residential building, just using the ground floor for commercial area, and just also to try to integrate with the familiarity of the finishing of the town, even just in the detail, just trying to reinterpret in this case, for instance, the idea, the decoration of the azulejo, with a new idea of skin, of double skin facade. Another experience that I wanted to show quickly also in this occasion is the one that I had in 2006, where I was involved in the important competition for the former fair area of Milan. This is, an important and really well-known project, because now it was built. We participated in this competition. We arrived between the three finalists. Even if really often we don't speak about that, about competition we didn't win, I often want to speak about this experience also to my student, because I think was really, for me, was a really important experience, also for the way we approach this competition. We were speaking about urban voids, brownfields. In this case, it was a spatial brownfields, because as you can see, anyway, you know Milan, we are really in the center of Milan. It's a big urban void in the center of the city. So it was a really incredible challenge also to try to apply some principle that we were just working on in different other experiences. The area was this big square of something like 300,000 square meters. In the program, there was the idea of just to make this half of this area as a public park. And our approach was just, I have to see, I still think that was really the most correct from the urban point of view. Really often, from a real estate point of view, generally the green area, it's in this big operation, it's always the void between the buildings. Just this, because it's from a real estate point of view, it's more, in a certain way, it's more functional, let's say. In this case, we just decided to cut the area in half, just to create a clear park with clear hedge, and to concentrate the volume just on the other side, just trying to reproduce, to integrate the proportion with the existing one of the surroundings, both in plan, then in elevation. Just having just this iconic element of one tower, residential tower, that was the only building inside the parks. That was just a symbolic and iconic element of all the project. All the rest was just a research to try to find the right proportion, the right proportion also in elevation, the right dimension of the buildings, and the right comparison between the green area of the rest of the city. All these principles were then, we went on working of this principle, urban principle, to another important project I was involved. And in this case, for me, was really important because I had the opportunity to follow from the beginning, from the urban planning to the work site, even with the design of some internal installation of the interiors. Here we are in Trento. I was responsible for many years for the project of the new district called Le Albere. That was a new urban district in an area that was a former industrial area of Michelin. An industrial site. This is in this image you can see Trento, that is in this valley of the river Adige. The north is on the left of the picture. The area with the red edge, it's more or less 11 hectares. And this was an image of the area just after the demolition of the Hansen industrial site. This was an image from the same view, because of course here we are in a valley. The mountains, especially on the west side, is really close. So it's a project that really strongly visible from the top. And this was the area just before demolition. What we find when we arrived for the first time in 2003 in Trento. So it was a really old industrial site from the 20s of the 20th century. It was, of course, for a city of a town like Trento, was really the industrial site, the main industrial site that was really important for social, economical history of the town. Also here, we just in just one operation, we had to transform completely this area. And also in this case, of course, we worked also about some principle like the mixing use. In this project, just the 45% is residential. Then there are all other functions like offices, commercial area, and also two important public buildings. The Museum, so the Science Museum on the north side, next to this Renaissance building called Palazzo delle Albere, and on the other side the university library. In a certain way, here the idea since the beginning was just to try to build a piece of city. Just finding the right proportion, the right elevation, the right relation between the volumes and the voids, but at the same time, so looking strongly for this mixing use, adding also at the same time some public magnets that it's like in a center of the town. Just consider that the center of the town is just 800, the cathedral is 800 meters far from the area. With these important public magnets that could bring life and activity all along the day to the new district. And also in this case, it was really important that the presence of this park, half of the area was just left to a big public park, that even in this case, following this important principle that they need a real clear hedge and between a park and the density of the urban area, we just decided to concentrate the buildings next to the town and to open the big park to the river, and then connecting the green with the green of the mountains that just in front. This seems, of course, something clear, banal, probably, but it's not always easy to keep this integrity, urban integrity, especially when we need to manage this big operation. In this case, we managed to keep this idea, just creating with the new buildings a new edge of the building city, and just creating this new transition between the park that at the origin was just 5 hectares, but then connected with the river and the river banks, it was amplified, giving a new connection between all the city to the river. This was a really complex operation, of course, because in just one operation with the same project team, we need to start from an urban planning to a general vision that was concerning also the surrounding of the area, to building all the buildings that we were speaking about, 16 different buildings. To be built all at the same time. Of course, in this project, we made a really long research in terms of typology, in terms of system. We keep the idea of just trying to create a system, a kind of language of the area, just to find what were the proportion, some typical proportions, some typical modularity, some typical materials, just to try to apply this system, this language, to create something that could be enough homogeneous, but at the same time flexible to be applied to different functions, to this different position. Here there are just a few examples of this huge work we did in many years anyway, where we just are some studies about the typology in section of the residential buildings. This idea of just to integrate the buildings also with the idea of the mechanical of the plants. In this scheme, we see how we just wanted to integrate since the beginning all what is mechanical with the roof system, just because, as we saw in the other image, this is a project really visible from the top. So it was really important to keep this idea, this classical idea, to make of the roof the 5th facade. So we work really a lot on the roof, on the modularity of the roof. And here we can see some diagram, 3D diagram, where we studied all the system. In this case, we wanted to create a kind of notch of a core of the building in mineral, in concrete, and then to have this kind of system, assembling system of element using woods for the facade, just creating the main modularity with the main structure, and then to create this infill of elements that could be changed in a different configuration for some loggia or some windows, or even for for some office building where we applied different kind of elements for the facade. Then assembling all this modularity, we just started to create our buildings, residential, office, and then also developing the same system, also the public buildings. These, for instance, are some examples of how we develop in different configuration the facade for the office building with this idea of green facade. Of course, this was an incredible occasion to test, to do experimentation. Of course, making all at once a project so big, we need to be sure of what we were doing. This is quite common in the Renzo Piano building workshop. We work with mock-up to some prototypes on a full scale. In this case, we need to do some mock-ups, and we did 2 mock-ups in 2 different locations, in 2 different times during the design process. The first one, that is this one, we did between the what we call the phase that in Italian is called progetto definitivo. Before starting with the construction document, the documents for the prosecution of the design process. The first mock-up was to test some solution, but also to test the wood, the external wood, the connection between the woods and the steel. Then to start this is a mock-up that had a kind of temporary structure, keeping one typical residential facade and the office facade on the other side. We start to test some design solution, and then at the end of the design process, instead we did a new mock-up, more complex, bigger, much bigger, that was just built in the work site and was used to test a lot of solutions during the building process. Just consider that all this project was built all at once, starting from the foundation. So there was the time also to test all different solutions, even during the building process. In this case, the mock-up was much more complex. We did a different module for the residential facade, a big module for the office facade, but also we just test the finishing and the facade of the ground floor of the commercial area. We had the opportunity also to test the solution for the staircase system, the connection between different materials. Here you see the stone and the wood, and some other was a kind of really a really important design tools. You know that one of the things that I learned since the beginning in the Renzo Piano building workshop, that I'm keeping in mind also now, is that even when we start a conceptual design, we always focus the construction moment. We always design with the idea of building something. And this is really important because it's just a really complex process between different scale that you just approach since the beginning. A concept design is not just to imagine the first lines of a volume or a facade of a plan, but it's also to start to create since the beginning the link between a detail and a general concept. And this it's something that we start learning from the beginning since my experience in Renzo Piano building workshop. And then just it's something that it's just I try to transmit also to the students when we just organize the laboratory for project at the university. It's really important to gain since the beginning the freedom of just just describe also our concept, even starting from the details that are keeping the strongness of our general concept. With the mock-up, we had the possibility also just to test some internal solution, just to imagine, also to build a typical apartment, also the system of the loggia and the stores and all the other things. These are some images of the finished project. These are the facade of the residential building facing the park. You see there is this system of facade that change configuration depending on the function inside, the system of the roof, playing with the different materiality of the wood, of the zinc, the metal roof. These are an image of internal street where the proportion were studied, just trying to imagine and to keep the familiarity of the same proportion of the historical center of Trento. Here it's quite clear the configuration, typological configuration with the core, mineral core, with the plaster of the stone in certain case. Even the color is studied just to become a kind of background for all the assembling elements of the facade of the roof. This is another picture of the main street. Even here, it's quite clear the proportion, one by one, between the dimension of the street and the one of the fronts of the building. And the internal courtyard that were private courtyards, but at the same time public, accessible also from the public streets. And this was really important, something that it was difficult to imagine at the beginning, but we managed to keep this idea that even the private courtyard were just, you could cross even from the public street and to pass from the public street to the private courtyard and then to go to the public park. And this is an image of the area just a few days after the opening of the site. And it was really interesting how kids just start to in a certain way to use the public space of the area. In this project was really important also the presence of these two public buildings, the Muse, the Science Museum, and the University Library. I work on both of them. In this case, I will just show some image of the museum. For me, it was also important this project because in this case we work. This building was conceived inside the general planning of the entire area. But for this building, we managed also to do something that probably was the first time that the Renzo Piano Building Workshop managed to design a museum building, designing also the interior exhibit project. It was really important just to conceive this new idea of a science museum, also thinking not just to the building but also to the contents. And this is, I think, it's the strongness of this project, the fact that there is this strong link between what is inside and what is the container. The buildings is on the north side of the area, just next to the Palazzo delle Albere, just creating this kind of synergic relation between the two buildings, just facing this big green piazza that is the space in front of Palazzo delle Albere. Already from this conceptual model, we can see how is the genesis of the building. Just imagining this kind of covered piazza, in glass for the lobby, just on the main axe of the new district, just becoming a kind of gate of the new district. And then the building is divided. We'll see then in these drawings. These are two end drawings that I'm really linked to these drawings because they were the first and main drawings that show the final solution of the museum. On top, we see the study of the north facade of the museum, and then in the longitudinal section. In these simple drawings, made with these two colors, black and red, in a certain way, there is a synthesis of all the project. This idea of this axe that we can see in the section and here in the facade, where there is the lobby, that is glazed and symmetrical, that it became a kind of gate, a kind of covered piazza, public piazza, that then divide the buildings into parts. One where there are the offices and the laboratory of the museum, and on the other side is the real museum building, divided in this part that is higher, and another part that has big exhibit plates, and then a kind of contraction that brings to this final volume that is the glass volume of the rainforest that is part of the exhibit of the museum. With the black and the red is just a way, just since the beginning, even from this sketch, just to identify a kind of hierarchy between what is mineral and what is assembled. So what is stone or plaster, in this case stone, and what is steel, glass, wood, and all the assembled elements. And this is already a kind of way of just make a synthesis already in the first sketch, just to give a guideline of what it will be then the developing of the details and of the research of the materials, the connection, about also the hierarchy of the facade. This is a section that the final section that, as you can see, it's not really different from the sketch. We see that the ground floor, there is a setback of the ground floor comparing with the top, just keeping this idea of having this strong transparency on the ground floor, even with the spatial function that we have. Another thing that we can see in this section is the fact that even the -1 is part of this exposition area. And then the space is made of enlargement and contraction that give a kind of rhythm also on the visit inside the museum in internal space. And the strong connection between the section and the plan. Here we can see the lobby, the administrative part and the space that were not linked to the exposition area, and then the exposition area on the right, that it's concentrated around what we call a big void, that it became a kind of important feature of the museum. This void was a kind of void to be filled. Since the beginning, the idea was the fact to have a void to be filled and to become a kind of exposition volume, just to be filled about element and exhibit and object, just giving a kind of focus and center of the museum. Here we can see the developing of some other plans. Of course, the sustainability aspects, all the project of new district of Le Havre was a big occasion to test this kind of sustainable design applied to a really huge scale, big scale. All the project was awarded from Casa Clima, and we had 2 buildings certified LEED Gold, the museum and the library. Of course, we have the possibility also to work after the end of the architectural project, also on the design of the exhibit inside. Here there are some sketches of all the work we did. for the exhibit. And then I want to show you some picture. This is a picture of the museum just when we finish the construction of the building and before starting the installation of the exhibit inside. There was not a real real opening. It was open just for one day for the journalist, politician, and so on. And I remember that when we saw this building, we were really happy. We just took a lot of pictures because we knew we wouldn't see it empty anymore, because then we filled with all the exhibit. But since even in this occasion, it was really important to give this idea of the big void as a place, a kind of exhibition space, exhibition void. And so we just organized in the last just 2 days before this kind of small opening of the building, this kind of extemporary exhibition with some big balloons that were filling the big void. And it gave a really particular image of the building. Of course, it's that we kept just in picture, but I often show, because it's really important souvenir for me, because I remember that was really emotioning when we saw this void. It was really important for us to show to the people that it was, which was also our idea just before starting to fill it with the exhibit. And this is the image of the big void after the design and the construction of all the exhibits. The idea was really important to keep this kind of permeability to all the museum. There was a really huge work, even in terms of fire security, just to manage to keep this museum completely open and to all the floors and from one side to the others. There are no partition except for the one on the side where there are. This is another image of the museum, of the big void, just facing the -1 from the ground floor. And all these images show actually how this idea of having also, that was not easy just to share also with the responsible of the museum, this idea of having this space completely open, even with big windows and glass facade to the external, just with the idea of just watching always outside when you are in the building and seeing the building inside with the contents from the outside. And this, for instance, on the right is a picture of the lobby in the day of the opening of the museum, where we had in 24 hours 30,000 people just visiting it. An imagine of the building from that side, where we see Palazzo delle Albere, the north facade, and the mountains just in front, and the lobby. This image to finish with the museum of the rainforest that became a kind of a spatial volume just close to Palazzo delle Albere, that it's just a kind of became a kind of iconic element that now it's filled of green and trees inside, and it really is becoming a real spatial space. After those images of my last experience in this long 16 years in Renzo Piano office, I wanted to show you something about my last works during these years with my own practice. As I was saying, that I'm trying to go on with the obstination with this idea of method of design research also in the occasion that I'm trying to find in this my new experience. I had the opportunity since the beginning. My office, this is the 4th year that I have my own practice. I had the opportunity to win some public competition. I had to discover, but I knew that it's not always easy to manage this process with some public works. I want to show you two examples that we managed to at least to arrive to the end of the design, and then now they are start to be constructed, even if we don't know exactly how it's going on. But it was really important. Even in this case, it's important for me to show which is the main elements of the process that brought us to define certain solution. The first I want to show is in the university campus in Dalmine. Dalmine, it's really close to Bergamo, not far from Milan. And as you can see from this image, it's really a town that was grow up around a huge industrial area. Since a few years, the University of Bergamo is decided just to bring in Dalmine a new pole for all the specialization linked to the Faculty of Engineering. Just with the idea to create a new campus, regenerating an area in a former industrial area just next to the big industrial area we can see on this side. The idea, it's really ambitious, really from a urban point of view, really important, even because here we are at the edge of the industrial area, really connected with the limits of the town. Of course, this kind of urban ambition, then really often how it happened with this complex public operation. Of course, then it's made just taking the occasion of just using or just restoring or regenerating while building just for the needs of the moment, without a real vision, general vision, without thinking about the necessity of having a bigger planification of this operation. At a certain moment, actually, the University of Bergamo started to regenerate some building, like this one, this other one, then this part they started to make a library. Of course, there were some function brought in this campus, and in reality didn't have the aspect of a campus. At a certain moment, for the needs of new spaces for the students, they just did a competition to restore this building that was an ancient electrical plant with this big space in front. When we participate to this competition, since the beginning, even if it was the master plan was not part of the competition, we wanted absolutely we realized that we need to have to use the instrument to create a kind of context on which to work for our project of a small specific building. So we start with some analysis of the area, just in a way, just to create the basis, the context, the vision, general vision, with the idea that even a small building could become, let's say, a kind of a starting point, just to develop and to guide a future development of the campus with new occasion of new buildings and new spaces for the students. So we started to analyze the existent, which were the existing building, the one that were already reused and the one to be designed and regenerated. And we just create a kind of, we start to put some sign on this area, and with the idea also, let's say, I always think about this metaphoric image of a farmer that just plow the ground, the field, just before using it, no? And so the idea was this, just to create some sign and to create a kind of hierarchy of design. And so from this it comes the idea of create a kind of access, main access, a kind of decumano that then could define our project, but then it could become a kind of generating lines for the developing of the rest of the area. Then the idea was just with this simple diagram to use the green just to give the right hierarchy to those signs, and then starting also with some sketch to define some volume, just cleaning the building that was quite a simple building from all the additional volume, and just to find a way of developing the new buildings and creating new spaces of relation between the campus and the town. So this is just a synthesis of first sketches, of studying sketches of that brought us to the final solution. The idea was just really to create a kind of grid and around a green space that could become like a common of a typical campus, to create the right hierarchy between the buildings, the existing, the new one, the access and the relation with the town. Of course, during the developing of the project, we had also the occasion to change these ideas with the responsible of the university, discovering that which were the real needs in terms of spaces, comparing it with the original program that they use for the competition. At the end, the final solution was quite simple in terms of organization, but at the same time quite clear. The existing building is just cleaned up from all the additional volume that were made in different times. And the new building just enclosed this idea of a new piazza, just starting with with the first building that is just next to the existing one, and 3 additional volumes that were made to contain the new class of for the students, just connected with the kind of connective system that create a kind of lobby just on the axis and distributes between the existing building and the new volumes. From this sketch, it's easy to understand which was the goal. The goal was just to have the existing building as a kind of in Italian we would say quinta, just to create one of the edge of the new piazza, the new common, and then all the new buildings is just raised at the ground, just kept from punctual structure like on some fingers, shaped in a way just to be recognizable in its function also from the outside, and at the same time creating a kind of defined piazza, but at the same time using the ground floor as a permeable space from between the university and the city, and using also this shape of the building as an invitation to get in. So the idea was to find the right equilibrium between the volumetric definition of the volumes of the voids, but at the same time to create a strong permeability in function on the ground floor. doing this project since the beginning, we understand really soon that was really important. It's always important, but this specific was even more important to define the architecture through the structure and the way how these buildings work. So even before starting to imagine which could be the finishing, which could be the detail of the architecture, the first things we did, we just tried to define this concept, express in this sketch for the structure. Even if we are not engineer, it was really important to control the structural concept, just to be coherent as much as possible with this architectural idea, both for the structure, but also for all the mechanical and the installation of the building. Here we see some diagram we did at the beginning, just to fix some structural idea, defining a kind of limit of the space in which the structural engineer could move. With this idea of access of a normal column, double column, with this spatial column that were the fingers that were keeping our volume for the class, and the structure that is below the volume with a certain height that has a certain module, aligned, even if the volume are not aligned, but aligned on the module, just to permit them to connect also in terms of distribution of the plants. And just then to study everything working from below, even to have the possibility then to catch the natural light from the top, and so to have the freedom to work on these buildings that were also in this case quite low and so quite visible from above, and to work to the fifth facade of the roof. In coherence with this concept, then we work on the definition of the plan. As we can see in this ground floor plan, we don't see we just see the projection of the building. There is the existing building with the main vertical distribution, and then this just glazed space in this part. All the rest is just floating on this structural leaving all this public space permeable between the common of the university and the street of the town. This is the plan of the first floor, that is a more functional floor and more dense, where we can see the definition of the main three class of the university. And the roof. Everything really simple, but we studied also, especially in the distribution, with all these external stairs that just create a kind of make it independent also from a security point of view, all the class. Here we can see the developing of the section in coherence with the original sketch. I just go quick in this part. And did some renderings of what is going to be. So this idea of the fingers also in the detail studied just to keep this volume, the hierarchy also in materiality of this part in wood, just in contrast with this other side made with more neutral metal cladding. This idea of permeability, of definition of the volumes, also to create a kind of a new identity also of the building, just showing from outside also the function. And then the relation with the building, existing building outside. Of course, we did a really strong research in terms of controlling the details, of using the natural lights. Here we had the opportunity to be really perfectly oriented with the north side to catch the best light to bring inside the class. And here some just a diagram of the sheds that are on top of the roof. I just finished and just showing some image of another project that we just finished few months ago. That was started from another competition we won, and it was for us really important. Was quite delicate even because it was we were in Amatrice. As you probably know, Amatrice that is in the center of Italy. In 2016 was really strongly touched by the earthquakes. It became a symbol really of these terrible earthquakes of the 2016. This is an image of Google Map from before the earthquakes. Here we can see the historical center of the town of Amatrice. And this is the site where the school, the alberghiero, so we are speaking about an hotel school, it was in this area with a building from the 70s. And this is an image of Google just after the earthquakes. We can see strongly the difference, and I can ensure that it's even worse of what we can see here, because all the historical center completely disappeared, and it was not possible to keep anything. And now it's completely, they just moved everything. It's incredible. It's just like a town that disappeared. Here we can see that even the school was really damaged, and so they need to demolish, and so there is the void where we had to do the new project. Just some terrible image of what happened just in Amatrice. And so this is just some image of which was the process to define this new project. We are speaking about a spatial school, because an Istituto Alberghiero, an hotel school, is a school, a professional school with really spatial spaces for laboratory didactical space that are really linked with the activity of the restaurant, of the kitchen. And so in this case, consider that we are in a town that really it's quite isolated at 1,000 meters by the sea. This school, in a certain way, it was important not just for the town but also for the surrounding. And since when it was created, he had also not only a school, but he has also rooms for 100 students that we had to redesign and to think about also for our project. So here there's just some simple diagram of our approach. We need to, in this case, to create a kind of in a certain way, just to try to imagine, to rebuild a kind of urban context that was really completely transformed from the earthquakes. Just trying to put in this area a lot of function, because of course the occasion of building a new school was also the occasion to create a space more from a technological point of view, but also from a functional point of view, much better what it was before. So it was quite difficult to condensate all the function in this area, but so we wanted to try to create a stronger front in the direction of the center of the town, and just to be more open and with the lower volumes in the direction of on the other side, where the town start to lose its density and just going little by little down to the valley. This is an image of a scheme of the school that is made of this principal volume, that is with the main facade facing the center of the town, a courtyard that we wanted to create inside, also to create this kind of permeability from one side, even because this school, it's really, the activity of this school, it's really connected with the activity of the town. Some image of the organization of the plan, where we wanted to to organize on the ground floor all that activity of laboratory that are, in this case, restaurant, kitchen, related with the courtyard. The more classical didactic spaces on the first floor, and then 2 floors for the rooms for the students. The system is quite, the typology, we try to keep a really clear, as much as possible, clear and modular typology, even because this this project was made, we decided to make this project applying a kind of a new structural system that this was the first time that we was used in Italy. It was a system called Press-LAN that using wood structure that is originally from a research developed in New Zealand. And so it's a system that gives the possibility to have a really big performance in terms of seismic resistance. And so the idea was to use this this technological structural system, and also to show up also in the materiality and the language of the building. So the wood here, it's really important. We try to use as much as possible the structural elements also as finishing element, showing also what is really important to this system, the connection between the structural elements, between the columns and the beams and the secondary beams. So it was really important to show all the technology in terms of structure that there is in this building. Here there are some rendering of the main entrance that with this idea of permeability that from the lobby go through the internal courtyard and go to the pavilion where there are the laboratory of the school. Another external rendering, and then the rendering on the other side where there are this pavilion that just integrate with the roof, with just trying to integrate with the trees that are on the back. An image of the internal courtyard where we are facing the main laboratory that then are the restaurants and the kitchen of the school. And just a quick look to some detail, just not to talk about that, but also to the fact that we just keep really a lot of attention of developing the detail, but at the same time using a spatial scale. This is something that often I say to my students. I just we like really a lot to use I go to the technical information. We use the 1 to 20 scale. That is an incredible scale because it gives the possibility to keep strongly a vision of the concept of the building, and at the same time to control the details in all the position. Of course, it's really a big work. For this project, we just made something like 40 section 1 to 20 of all the buildings. For me, it's really, really important to control. It's a really important tool to control all the buildings in all these parts, because sometimes it's also important then to do, you will see, to do also detail on a bigger scale, but the 1 to 20 is just a good compromise between detailing everything, but at the same time to put in a general context that keep you all the time the idea of the concept. These are all some of the big sequence of the 1 to 20 section that we did. And then anyway, just a few images of other detailing that give us the possibility also to study in all the connection. In this case, was really important the interaction between the structural wall elements that really often were quite big because we were not just columns but also some wood walls. Considering that the performance in terms of seismic resistance are really important in this project. Anyway, this is just to show how it was then developed in each corner all this idea of integration between structure and architecture. And with this same image, I finish my presentation. Of course, I'm open to any question or other curiosity of clarification or that somebody wants to ask.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your lecture. And indeed, I would strongly encourage to set questions either in chat or live question. If you raise your hand in Zoom with this little icon, probably we can do it like that. In the meantime, I am actually having two questions. One is, recalling the time at Renzo Piano Building Workshop, one of the very, very characteristic and specific elements of the design process was strong, working with models, with 3D representation. Do you still do that? Do you manage to do that? How did your position change on this subject? I would be really curious to understand that.
I will be really sincere and pragmatic on this. I think the model like we used to do in Renzo Piano, it's still a tool really, really important, and I'm still doing it. At the same time, I think this your question introduces something that has let's say a larger connection with other questions. What I had to learn, I knew, of course, the working in the Renzo Piano Building Workshop, it's really special because let's say, you have really a strong contractual power. I think in Italy it's really complicated, especially working with public, having the possibility to do a kind of design research apart of the model, but in general a design research like it was possible to do with the Renzo Piano. And I just take the occasion for your question to say these things because this is really important, because I think anyway here we are in an international context now in the moment, but this is something quite important in Italy, that it's really important. What I really miss in terms of relation with the client, especially with public client, is the fact to talk about the project, And this is really frustrating. And even because I'm really strong on my experience and of what I want to do, to keep on working in this way. But I really wonder if somebody that has no my experience and my motivation to be able to go on doing a really good design research in certain contexts. It's really difficult. This is just starting from this idea, because of course we try to do this research, but generally something that it's not economically recognized. And so we do because it's really an important tool. Then I have to say something, Agatha. It's also the question that I have a lot of. Also, I think I have, after a lot of years, a lot of craft in terms of being able to take advantage about as much as possible of the instruments that we can use. So of course I managed to do model also without all the infrastructure of the Renzo Piano building workshop. And of course it's really important. It's really important because it's part of the idea that I was saying at the beginning, that it's a kind of back and forth. You have to go to go deeply in a certain detail and then go back. As you remember, when we were you were also in the Renzo Piano building workshop. You remember that even at the beginning of a process it could happen that we were just starting to do a small model of a detail. And this is still something that I try to do, and I try to transmit to the people that are working with me.
Okay, thank you. No, of course it must be more. It is more of a challenge, because remembering both the infrastructure and also people power, like people who were doing this and nothing else. It is. But I am really happy to hear that you continue this tradition, because I think it is really, really great. I mean, this really does give you an idea about the space. I think we have some. I'm just reading chat, because I see that. Okay, we have some comments. Positive, very positive.
I hope so.
Positive. But I'm still looking for a question, because if not, I'm gonna pop another one myself, and it is going to be about again, if you could repeat, because I was I just did not catch that so well, about anti-seismic technologies that you used in your final project, and the last one that you were commenting on, the one that was developed in New Zealand, and that was a timber structure. But what is the? Can you say something more specific about that?
Okay. I'm just. Apologize first if I miss some technical terminology, because I could explain better in Italian, but I just try to explain. So this concept of the press slam is based on the fact that there are some spatial, sometimes expensive junction between vertical and horizontal elements.
Okay.
Let's say you have a column, you have a beam. Generally, anyway, like it was in this project, you work with one column and two beam. Because what is really important is in this principle is the connection. Actually, it's called press lama because it's was made with wood, with timber, laminate wood. But in theory, the principle you can apply to any kind of material, even with concrete or even with steel. The principle is that there are spatial junctions that give you the possibility to move with the earthquakes. And then there is after with the earthquakes, this connection move, and being possible to move, it doesn't destroy the connection. And is made to come back in its position. This gives the possibility just not to damage the structural element, but at the same time to be able for the maintenance to change one element without destroying all the building. So if there is a kind of damage in a spatial sunk, you can just substitute and change and put another one. So the system is made above all of it's based on this principle that these connections are made just not to destroy, to damage the connection itself. Then, of course, to respond to the strong constraint in terms of law for the seismic area, like in one of Amatrice, of course, the density of structure is quite strong. We don't have, we have some columns, we have a lot of walls. Principle, the general principle of the good way of building for seismic zone is remain the same. So symmetry, good distribution of the structure, just not to change the to move too much the geometrical center and the structural center in the way, just not to have torsion, but then for this it works exactly the same way. The difference is above all in this, and it's something that it was used a lot in New Zealand, but it's still never been used in Italy, but I think even in Europe. So we are just waiting to see, because we just did really a lot of work. We really work really close with the structural engineer just to create this really strong integration between the structure and the architecture. Even with the idea to show this connection. The idea was just to be able to see this kind of connection.
You know, that's really interesting. I don't know whether to wish you that the system gets tested or not. Probably I wish you that it doesn't get tested, but...
No, of course. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there are any more questions. We have Ms. Magda Matuszewska. Magda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Do we have? Yes, we can. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. We don't see any questions in chat.
Yes, I think there is one, but okay. Before I read it out loud, I just wanted to express my sincere appreciation for your presentation, Danilo.
Thank you very much.
It was very inspiring, and thank you for sharing your experiences, your project with us. And now I have this privilege to read out loud one of the students' questions, which is, Carol is typing, thank you for the fascinating lecture. I'm a second-year student and a really amazed student. My question is, what is the clue to manage bigger urban planning? How to think about the space in such a big scale, which has to be useful and beautiful for people simultaneously, I guess. I mean, we are not used to think in bigger scale than ourselves. This is what Carol said and asked at the same time.
A really good question, and that I have to say that now for me it seems quite natural, not caring a lot about the scale of a project I'm working on, because after years I have understand that the scale is not. Bigger scale doesn't mean that it's more difficult. The approach to a design project, to a urban project, it's the same. If I am afraid of something, I'm not afraid of the scale, but often, I have to say the truth, I'm afraid of the missing of constraints. Because from my experience, I can say that I don't think my way of thinking architect to be an architect, it's my way, and I think it's like this, that our work it needs constraints. We have to solve a design problem starting from some constraint. So this is the first thing. And really often the big scale offer you a lot of constraint. And so the question that, as I was saying at the beginning, I just have what I learned also from Renzo Piano, that is a big architect, that there is a kind of, Agatha, help me, you know how you say in English, pudore? It's probably difficult to say, but let's say that I try to make you understand. Even a person like Renzo Piano, he was a little bit, didn't like to speak about gesture, but more about process, more about people, more about ambience, more about spaces, more about goals of a space. And this is a part of a method in the sense that there are gesture in architecture. Of course, need to have a gesture. Renzo Piano has gesture, but it's something more intimate and difficult to explain and difficult to transmit.
It is a certain modesty.
Modesty, yeah. Let's say modesty. It's in the sense that for me it's quite easy to speak about why we just make the research in that direction, and more difficult to speak about why a facade is I think is beautiful. No, it's quite complex. So the big scale projects really often give you the opportunity to have a lot of constraint, and at the same time it's really important to approach to the design process with the method. The question of creating, just looking for which are the condition to have a certain quality of a space. So we need to, in a certain way, and this is something I often try to transmit to my students, because of course this is quite typical of when you are students, but much more now where you have a lot of tools, software that give you the possibility to design in 3D, no, directly. This is really important because it's a really important tool. But in the reality, we need to arrive to the 3D just thinking about the condition to make a good space, to create a good space. And this is really important. The important thing is just the approach, the method that Agatha will remember. When you start something, a new project in a big scale, you start to look for the condition of the context. And when I speak about context, I speak not just a physical context, but general context, social context. Even for this reason, the fact that Renzo Piano office learn you learn to design in section. A section is an extremely abstractive drawings, but it's really important because give you also an idea of the space, of the condition of the space, without thinking about all the volume and all the definition of the architecture. And so this is the important things to approach the big scale, but general all the scale, just to look for the condition, which are the conditions you want to have. So I spoke at that project, a piece of a city. What is a city? Stratification, complexity, density. That is something that really often we forget. The density is important because it's part, the correct density is important because it's part of our approach to the space. So to walk in a street and to be able to watch from one side to another and to catch details from one side to another of the street, it's important. It gives you a different approach to the space comparing with the big avenue that is something different. So I think that it's important to look for the condition, just to create some, to look for the constraint and to create new constraint that that you are creating just to go through, to try to get that condition that is part of the program of the goal that you want to get. So I think it's not absolutely a problem to work with the big scale. Then of course there is much more work after, but it's I don't think is the scale the amplify the complexity of the process. I don't know. I hope I answered correctly to the question. In case I'm still here.
I'm sure you have. Magda, is there anything new?
Yes, another one appeared. So here is the question from Mikołaj Olszewski. He's thanking for the lecture and asking about the contemporary Polish architecture. What do you think of that? And also, I would like to give a shout out to all students from University of Fine Arts in Poznań who also see the presentation. That's what Mikołaj wrote.
So do you know any Polish contemporary architecture? Do you?
Okay. I have to confess something. Not that I don't know. Probably I know some Polish architect. The question that my approach with the architecture, it's really like a designer, somebody that designs. So I really often I'm more. I catch and I have more curiosity about project than about designer, in the sense that really often I probably I've seen some interesting project of a Polish architect, but I don't remember the names. The question that this is not the attitude, it is my general attitude. I'm more interested about project than about architects. No, so I don't know, but of course I'm.
Well, I think this is the consequence also of having even this event online, and hoping that one day when we may do that in person, that you shall visit us in Poznań, and then we shall look at some contemporary Polish architecture.
Yeah.
We'll have an opportunity to talk about it as well.
Yeah.
So there is one more question from Agnieszka Kasińska-Andruszkiewicz. Agnieszka, would you like to tune in and ask the question yourself?
Yes, of course. Hello, I must say I'm really impressed by your lecture. I have a question. Presented projects are extremely impressive. They are using energy-saving technologies and a lot of greenery. My question is, how does work looks like in such a large office? Is there any separate team dealing with greenery and the whole greenery design?
In Renzo Piano building workshop, in the reality, the general approach is just to create some collaboration with also external structures. In the sense, for instance, comparing with other big office in Renzo Piano building workshop, they don't do structures, they don't do in theory, they don't do landscape. In theory, they don't do structure. I think this it's like it's something. Another things that it became part of my idea of architects. The architect is to make architecture is a work of scientists. So you don't have to be expert to anything. I hate specialization, and you need to know something of everything, to be curious about everything. And this is a little bit a methodological approach also, that it's the way it's organized in the office. In the office, we just start to design structure, but always we need a structure of landscape and things like this. But really often, always in all the project, there is a collaboration with external consultants that are the best in their fields. So there in LPBW, I had the opportunity to work with the best structural engineer, with the best mechanical engineer, and also with the best landscape architect. For instance, in Trento, the park was the design and the landscape was made in collaboration with Michel Corajou. that I had the opportunity to meet and to work with in that project, but also in the competition for the Milan project of the former fair area. And these were just occasion really of having a really incredible collaboration, and also to learn a lot from these people. And this is just a part of the luggage I'm bringing with me, to being able to work with these people. At the same time, of course, it's a way just also to collaborate, and at the same time to create a synthesis of everything and to make architecture, landscape, structure, and mechanical working together. That is part of the method, without having the idea of controlling everything, but just using the experience and the professionality of specialists, just putting together in the project team.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I see there are no further questions. Well, if this is so, I think what remains to be said is that thank you, Danilo, very, very much. And I truly hope that one day we will be able to repeat this experience in Poznan. Thank you very much again for your time, for your lecture, and hope to see you soon in person as well. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.